Unlock the power of AI in marketing with our new series, AI Agent. Dive into the world of SaaS tools, discover how marketing pros deploy bots, and explore the best use cases for AI in your marketing strategy. Only on Marketing in the Age of AI podcast with Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. This is the final piece to the Agent series, which kicked off earlier this year. And the world of agents is so dynamic that it's completely changed in the last few weeks. And I've got an opportunity today to have a great conversation with Dilip Dubey, who is an AI pioneer, entrepreneur, and investor, best known for his contributions to AI-driven business transformation. Dilip has founded and scaled multiple companies, creating amazing amounts of shareholder value. He's implemented over 100 AI business value release projects, and he's also mentored and invested in over 22 AI companies and 3 AI funds. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today, Dilip.
Thanks for having me here, Emanuel. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And we got so much dynamism and motion in the market right now. What's the thing that's surprised you most so far, like just in the last, say, 4 to 6 weeks? Anything?
Well, I think not only 4 to 6 weeks, I think this has been trend, Emmanuel, for maybe last few quarters, is in the world of AI, there are things that you believe are going to move very fast and they don't mature. And then the things that you don't know about suddenly show up and completely disrupt the world. So this pace of innovation conflicting with lack of innovation in other sides of AI, I find it very interesting.
Well, it's funny because that's a lot of things I tell my clients. I'm like, I am not smarter than the marketplace, right? We make these guesses and then we see what happens because I agree that has been, it's the things that have matured, for instance, the Anthropic MCP, the fact that I was thinking that was a year away. And this week we're seeing lots of motion on that. Do you have any experience or any thoughts on what Anthropic's doing with that context protocol?
Well, I mean, certainly, I think in the world of AI, critical component is context. Critical component is to really act as close to human beings as possible. And there are 2 schools of thought. One says we're like away till 2035 to do that. Another school of thought is we are 5 weeks away from doing that. So going back to that theme, but talking specifically about your question, I think the challenge is a lot of these technologies are great tools, right? And you can experiment with them, you can try them out, but turning them from a tool, which is pretty cool and very powerful, into a solution for a business use, there is a huge bridge there. And I think they're going to face the same maturity timeline as others have faced.
Yeah, and so the working distinctions I've had is just kind of, we've got automations like through Zapier, we have some amount of agent programming through tools like N8N and some other low code, no code, and then what we're all really waiting for is this kind of agentic or self-directed or lightly directed agents to do work. Am I getting the terms in the right, at least stadium?
Yeah, I think you're reinforcing the theme we started this conversation with, which is, on one side, we are all excited about AI agents being able to do some human tasks, but sometimes it's very easy to extrapolate that from, hey, these agents can do human tasks, to these agents can be humans or do exactly what humans do. And that is today not the case. So if you look at a learning agent who can, of course, learn how you learn and teach you things that in a much more simpler, easy to learn manner is reality, right? There are a lot of tools out there that do that today.
Sure.
And but on the other side, if you look at a agent which is like a cognitive agent, which can understand human perception, human reasoning, have the memory to think through all this and then create outcomes, I think those technologies are still being built in universities and labs and not yet real. I always qualify. We may be surprised tomorrow morning releasing something and changing that view. But as of now, it looks like that is a little bit away. But that doesn't change the fact that agents are super powerful. They can automate not only tasks. If you turn them into real business solutions, they can release tremendous value for your business.
Sure. And I guess philosophically, I mean, I kind of fall into the thing where I'm not really looking for the software to think like me. Like, I don't know. Am I missing something or am I kind of being a Luddite by thinking that?
Well, software today, we are trying to mimic human brain, right, in
Yeah.
technology. But can it do so today? Answer is, in my strong view is no, it
Right.
cannot. There are things it cannot do like humans, which is, I talked about reasoning, perception, actually thinking about thinking, the things we do on a very normal basis that AI and AI agents cannot do today.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, AI agents and AI can do things that we can't do, which is take 3, 4, 5 billion variables, think through it, and come up with an answer.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a kind of a symbiotic relationship today where we can take advantage of AI's capabilities to augment our own.
Sure.
And the jury is out if AI can mimic us as we think.
Yeah, and I think emotional intelligence will continue to be our primary activity that the software probably won't be able to mimic. What do you think about that?
True. So of course, there's always a school of thought who believe that they can solve everything with AI, including world hunger in a day, right? Of course, you could make a theoretical case for that, but in practical world that we live in, I am aligned with you that the emotional intelligence is a little bit far to come. And a great example is all of us now are very familiar with LLMs, tools like ChatGPT. And when you ask them, I think there was a comment many years ago by somebody working for Google that, hey, it's become alive, it's sentient, right? And then you really dig down to it, it's memorization. It is just so good at it that when it responds, it feels that way.
Right.
So the output is still very valuable, but is it truly driven by emotional intelligence? The answer is no.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Well, I wonder if you'd share a little bit about maybe one or two of the companies that you've invested in that you're excited about what they're working on producing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, firstly, Emmanuel, because I coach and mentor listed companies, Fortune 500 company leaders, and then I invest in early stage companies, which are like two founders trying to change the world just by themselves.
Yeah.
So let's take an example of an early stage company, and let's call them Hack to Skill. And this company has developed an AI platform and technology that allows you to solve any business problem that you have by first figuring out how to reach 5 million people around the world, many of them students, and who can then use AI to solve your problem.
Wow.
But also allow AI to solve some of those problems in collaboration with these millions of amazing people around the world, which basically means the problem that may have taken $5-10 million may have taken 2-3 years to solve, you can solve in 5 weeks for $5,000.
Right. Wow.
Right. So these kind of really amazing companies are coming into play. And I'll give you another example is in healthcare. One of the companies that I'm invested in and mentoring is a spinoff out of University of Michigan. They are building ability to predict if you are going to fall sick weeks and months ahead of your current timeline. So you don't have to react once you're not feeling well. It'll already tell you, not day in advance, it'll be able to tell you weeks in advance based on the AI technology that are building. And I can go on and on and on about great technology companies, especially AI driven companies that are
Sure.
coming around the world.
Yeah, no, that's both those companies sound like very appropriate uses for the AI technology. We are talking about or focused on agents or bots, and is there, what are you seeing as far as in the near term, how companies should be looking at deploying agents or agentification inside their operations or their marketing?
So it is very interesting time because the agent's value is already proven, right?
Mhm.
So if you look at a customer support service, if you look at as a kind of assistant as a financial advisor, if you look at, of course, in the world of marketing, there's so many projects or use cases that you can take on where agents are very helpful. But I see agents as a bridge between what I said earlier about a tool, like I use ChatGPT to
Yep.
I need a solution to solve something. And you can look at agents as a bridge between the two as well, where they can take information, right? They can take context, they can use AI models or an LLM or an OpenAI or any other tool that is out there as their brains, and then spit out a solution that you can use and then learn from that. So really taking a tool to really a solution that you can use. Agents can do that today. Now, today we're only handling very basic cases, but one of the companies that I founded based on my patents, this company called Sutra.ai, is using agents to eliminate the need for business leaders, who do not know anything about AI, to handhold them from start to end in doing an AI project.
Love that.
Right. So the AI is needing kind of making the need to learn AI obsolete, which I think is such a cool thought, that you don't need to, and which is, as you know, a big advantage with AI is you can converse with AI in natural language or any language that you choose.
Yep.
You just need to know what are the right questions to ask.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What have you noticed about how AI has impacted the world of programming and programmers, and uh, the impact that's had?
Well, I think Google came out and talked about it. I was looking at a LinkedIn post that already 1/4 of their coding is done by AI.
Wow.
Yeah. When I do due diligence on a company where I'm going to invest in, that's one of the first questions I ask the head of engineering or product. What percentage of your product development is using AI?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get that blank stare, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And sometimes you realize there are only two founders. They really have no choice. They are using pretty much 80% of what they're building is using AI, and the last 20% they're doing on their own.
Uh-huh.
So I think one of the first kind of jobs at risk that in an AI world, Emmanuel, is junior early stage programming. You still need complex frameworks, architecture, actually tuning it to actually deliver results. That
Yep.
still requires a lot of human involvement. But first third, maybe first 2/3 of programming on a simpler task, AI can do much better than humans can.
Mhm. Well, that's interesting. So, how should somebody who's interested in coding or tech focused, what part of the business should they be looking at rather than that junior or early stage programmer?
Yeah. So AI is a superpower for businesses, especially, I think, for all organizations. So if you are early stage, what I recommend is uh, do two things. One, learn how to leverage AI in the best way possible. So not only just learn coding. Coding is very helpful because for complex tasks. For if you are in an AI foundationally driven company, you need to know coding and the constructs of it, but also learn another field. So if you are learning coding and you also know how the healthcare and medical technologies work, that's great. If you know
Yeah.
financial services and AI, that's great. So intersection of these fields is something I would strongly encourage everybody to do. And the third thing is learn to be a teacher. If you know coding, you may not realize, and I'll give you a great example. I went to a university as a keynote speaker just last week, and I asked all the students, how many of you use Chat GPT regularly? And the answer was pretty much 95%, right? There are like
Okay.
5, 6 older people who were just there visiting, and they're the only ones who didn't raise their
Right.
uh, when I asked the same question to a group of CEOs and owners of mid-market business who I talk to regularly and in speaking engagements and otherwise, maybe 10% are using it regularly. So if you're an early stage person, please understand you can bridge that gap.
Yeah.
You can be that person who unleashes the superpower for an organization. You just need to make sure you understand AI as well as the business context and become the teacher for the business leaders to use AI. Those two things, along with learning some programming and coding, which comes with the territory, makes you invaluable to future organizations.
I love that. Really niching it into a specific industry type, and then becoming proficient at instruction too. That's awesome. I love that. I hadn't even considered that, so that's pretty cool.
Emmanuel, let me ask you a question. How
Yeah.
many times we are in a conversation where a fellow leader will tell me, "Oh, I was talking to my kids or my grandkids, and they showed me this."
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
if you needed any more proof that all the future, like senior business leaders, need this help from the next generation of AI talent, right there is your proof.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I wonder what's your take on why the adoption in that strata of executive is so low.
So, my thesis here, Emmanuel, is AI came into being and all leaders looked at AI as another tech tool. Like, all right, we have had crypto or blockchain before, we have AR, VR before, we had 3D printing before. Well, now we have AI.
Right.
And this in my view was not the best way to approach AI, because AI is not a disruptive technology, it's a technology that changes everything. So if you looked at AI as a superpower that can significantly increase your revenue for mid-market companies, I always say please target at least doubling your EBITDA or profitability. Sounds crazy, but I already know companies who are doing it and doing great at it.
Yeah.
So once they become an AI believer and realize what it can do for their businesses, then the adoption significantly increases. But till they look at, hey, this is another tech tool that I need to give to my my leaders in my IT group, that's what is slowing down the adoption. You clearly need IT to partner with you. They're critical for privacy, security, scaling these solutions. But AI requires business context. AI requires the right questions to be asked. AI requires right strategy to be input to get those decisions. Those are the capabilities a business leader has, not just a tech leader in a company.
Yeah, I agree. That is amazing. And I'm curious, do you have you seen any time studies about that? Like the leverage, right? Like I'm always saying it's 10 to 100 times leverage in terms of 1 hour into what you're saving. I mean, is there something that you can cite that's more exact than that?
Yeah, so many studies are saying that if you invest in an AI or an AI agent, it should give you like 10x to 13x more speed from where you are today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is based on, of course, the work that is already done by great companies using this technology. It's also driven by, if you can't get those kind of returns or improvement in speed and efficiency, Emmanuel, the investments you may be making may
Yeah.
not be good ones,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Because you end up spending a lot of time and maybe use a lot of humans to make these AI agents work. And by the time you get to the end result, it's just not as good of an ROI as you would have liked. So expecting step change in productivity is critical. I mean, I know companies who are in customer support area, they're targeting changing their human to AI mix from like 2080 to 80/20 and do so in the next 18-24 months.
Uh-huh.
And this is great. This is an opportunity and a challenge in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. It's threats, opportunities, and obligations come in every situation, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I love that 10x, yeah, to 13x, yeah. So it's really goes back to the strategic planning for how for what part of the business that you want to innovate with the AI, whether you're going to get that type of leverage from implementing it. That's what I'm noticing.
Totally, Emmanuel. And the way I request leaders to consider is like, hey, first become an AI believer, right? Make sure you
Yep.
learn and see the real stuff. Then from there, get control of your data, which is really the fuel that powers AI. Without that, you won't go very far.
Yeah.
And in AI world, it's much easier to do. So you don't have to spend tons of money and months and years to get control over your data. You can do it fairly easily now.
Yeah.
Then try a couple of low-hanging use cases. Use
Yeah.
agents, use other things in AI, and prove to yourself. And I always say the best friend in this situation is your CFO, your head of finance.
Sure.
Because if you involve them, they will ensure that you don't do hobby projects.
Right.
You actually do high ROI projects, right? And
Yeah.
once they are convinced, you will see a complete shift in how a business operates. You may go from 2 projects to 20 projects driven by the team and the people you thought maybe were kind of reluctant to adopt AI. And I'm seeing this almost regularly for the businesses I'm coaching and mentoring.
Yeah, I like that. So as long as we can, for the top leadership, we've got to tie it into an increase in profitability. We need to do some strategic planning and involve the CFO, and that way we know that it will actually produce what has been promised on the front end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard though because challenges. All of us, as you know, Emmanuel, have been conditioned to think certain way with previous technologies.
Sure.
And sometimes I go to CEOs and say, "Hey, you need to be the champion of your AI initiatives," and you get that look like, "Yeah, I'm too busy for this."
Right.
I ask them a separate question, which is, "Hey, if I gave you an initiative that's going to double the profitability of your company in 18 months, would you delegate it or would you take that on yourself?"
Yeah.
And take AI question out of it. And then
Right.
suddenly it's like, oh, double. I mean, like, even if I get 20% improvement, that's a big deal
Yeah.
for me. And suddenly the answer is, hey, if that is true, right? You have to be a believer. You have to understand this will actually work. But once they cross that chasm, it is very easy to see why CEOs and senior leaders need to own the initiative, even though some of the execution will be with teams.
Very, very prescient. I appreciate that. And as we're wrapping up here, tell me a little bit about what the tools are that you're using in your daily activities as an executive professional.
So personally, of course, I use ChatGPT, Gemini regularly. I mean, for example, if you want to learn about agents, you can just go to ChatGPT and it'll walk you through. Now, please remember, it does not have the wisdom and context, so sometimes it kind of makes up information as it goes, but still excellent tool to learn. I use that regularly. I also use tools like Midjourney or Canva for graphics and videos and creating better storytelling. Personally, I do use tools for research, which I think Perplexity came out with one. I think OpenAI just came out with one. So those are the ones I use personally. On the business side, a lot of businesses that I'm invested in are using open source tools like LangChain, LangGraph
Yeah.
to build out AI agents. Some are using companies like Crew AI, which again, a good platform, but it's to do very complicated agents. It's still learning and maturing. And then, of course, for mid-market companies, I always recommend that they don't try to get into this business of learning tools and figuring these things out. They should go and subscribe to a platform that handholds them from start to end. And I talked to you about Sutra.ai, which is, I use that platform myself. So if I have a project I want to do, I will allow it to bring in all the data I need, tell me if this project is feasible, do the model selection, and spit out an outcome that I can start using, all without having any AI technical expertise in it. So those are the key tools I'm using. Again, I'm always curious to learn more. And you and I both agree, like tomorrow morning, there'll be 3 new tools that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, it's amazing. And sometimes they're even useful.
Yeah. Well said. And I that comment reminds me of something. So literally in the AI world, like you as a business especially, and as an individual, this is not as a big deal, but as a business, if you choose to go left with AI, you can become a unicorn. Yeah. If you chose to go right, you can go bankrupt. Right. So this decision making is so critical. As individuals, we can make a wrong decision on a tool, we try it and go move on. But in AI world, businesses have to learn how to make good decisions.
Yeah, I'm excited to check out Sutra AI and see how that performs. Also, just the idea that we can build these tools and they can be LLM agnostic, so that as something else comes up that's integrated a bunch of other new things, we can plug it in to that new tool or that new LLM also.
So true. And we know this today, right? That DeepSeek came in, and you can have a view. I mean, I have a view about, hey, I'm still figuring out how much it is real, how much it is not.
Right.
50 to 100 times cheaper than OpenAI on surface.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're a business who are stuck with one platform or a tool, and suddenly this happens, your competitor builds it on the other platform, and you can't shift quickly, you could hurt yourself. So these are the decisions I think business leaders will be making, and I'm confident. I mean, I'm very optimistic that how the world and the businesses are going to evolve, creating tremendous value.
Yeah, well, that is amazing to have this conversation with you. I'm very, very appreciative and grateful to you for spending this time with me. And I hope that I can reach out to you again in a few months and we have another conversation like this.
It would be my pleasure, Emanuel. It was fun to be here. Thank you for all the amazing questions there and allowing me on your platform.
Absolutely. Well, hang on for a second while I wrap this up, and I'll say goodbye properly. Thanks. Thank you, Dilip.
Sounds good. I'll wait.
Okay. Well, that's amazing conversation with Dilip and Dilip Dubey, and it's a good wrap to this series about agents and about being an AI believer is the most important step to getting the AI integrated into your business and finding twice the profitability by integrating these tools in logical places that you've discovered through strategic planning, so you know that you're going to get the ROI that you need from them. I hope this has been an episode that you like and that you've enjoyed this series on agents, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.